Hello and welcome to The Conversation. My name is Shannon Taylor. I'm the Executive Director of Blacks and Jews in Conversation, and our special guest today is Professor Christopher Chapman from Kingsborough Community College. And this, of course, is the inaugural. Why they put it in the winter, I asked the professor, when everybody is freezing there, over 1,400,000 people, and he wisely said, in the days of our founding fathers, you would have interfered with the crops if you put it in the spring. And I said, why not have everybody come with their crops as they did with the temple, and would have deposited all their crops in Washington, and they would have had a feast. The professor is from the Department of History and Justice at Kingsborough College. He was a detective. He was honored as the Officer of the Year, and he's bringing students tomorrow, right after the inaugural, his whole class on criminal justice, to the criminal court, to the Supreme Court in Kings County. They'll see our members, Justice Dowling, with a hate crimes trial, I believe, is scheduled, and Justice Arthur Schack will be meeting him at the lunch hour, and then he'll be getting a tour of the criminal court with Officer Conroy, and closing it with Judge Miller after the tour, and we'll have our friend the Brooklyn Eagle present. It is a full-day schedule, too much for me, but Professor Chapman is in great shape, and he'll be leading his students onward all over the court system of Kings County. He'll be in most capable hands. Now, Professor Chapman, please give us some of your background on this inaugural day, but start out with your impression of the inauguration. I understand the college was showing it to its students.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you so much for arranging the court visit for Kingsborough Community College criminal justice students. Kingsborough Community College provided opportunities for the students to watch the inauguration live today. It was fed into the cafeterias where, it was standing room only in the cafeteria. The students were crowded around. President Prugi provided light refreshments for the students. Then also we had a second location where we have a theater, and it's a pretty large theater, standing room only again. It was kind of like you were actually in Washington, D.C. The students were standing, they were clapping, they were cheering. I think President Obama may have heard the students from Kingsborough as they were cheering for him. But it was a very emotional time, it was a very happy time, it was a very enjoyable time.
Are you all psyched for coming over tomorrow? Are you all set? How many students are going to come, and what are their backgrounds?
I am very, very. This was my first time going to the Brooklyn court, so I'm excited. The students are very excited. I'm not sure how many students. We may be 40, maybe 50, maybe a couple more. All the students are within the criminal justice department. They're in my crime and delinquency class, so we're talking about crimes and punishment. Why do individuals commit crimes, and what are the punishment for the crimes, and do the punishment actually always fit the crime that the person engaged in?
Well, you're coming to the right place. There's plenty of analysis. Judge Dowling will have a hate crimes forum where this is the very issue. And Judge Schack has been, with Judge Dowling and others, touring over 60 universities and colleges the 15 years of our existence on issues such as this. And the criminal court, you'll have arraignments, you'll have the jury parts, and then, of course, you can raise whatever questions you like. I am curious, with regard to the inaugural being the day before, will that affect their views of anything that they see? Will they be taking something from the political scene into the justice system? Because the two are completely separate, supposedly. It's supposed to be a separation of powers, a separation of systems, the one curbing the other sometimes trying to muscle in on the territory of justice. What will the students be able to do? Will they be able to separate them as two separate entities?
If I have done my job correctly, they should be able to. But again, it's like heads and tails of the same coin. I tell the students, we teach the students that there's three distinct branches of government where the courts are a part of the judicial branch, and it's their job to interpret the law while the executive branch's job is to enforce the law. Some of the students believe, and I believe to some degree, that that it's really not an equal share of power, because, you know, the judicial branch of government has no power to go out and to arrest anyone. The legislative branch can make laws, but if there's no one out to go and enforce those laws, there's really no purpose for the law. So the students understand the three different branches. They understand what a judge's job is and what branch of government the judge falls under, as well as, which some students didn't realize, that the president is part of the executive branch of government, and you know, whose job, when we think of, just like police officers, fall under the executive branch. But talking about the election, you know, I think a lot of citizens believe that things are going to change overnight. They think that when we have a new president, that, you know, things that they're displeasing in the past overnight are going to change, and that's not reality. That's not going to happen. Things aren't going to change overnight. It's going to be a slow, steady process. But the students are excited to go. I know they have a lot of questions because, you know, part of education, or my philosophy of education, is that, you know, you plant a seed. You answer some questions with a question, where the students have to learn to think through a problem. Like one of the questions in class was, are judges elected or are they appointed? What is the advantage of having a judge that's elected, and what's the disadvantages of having a judge that's elected or appointed? So we talk about that. I planted a seed that, you know, does a judge necessarily have to have a law degree, you know, to be on the United States Supreme Court? Is there a requirement of having a law degree? You know, if you don't need a law degree to be on the United States Supreme Court, if you just merely need to be recommended by the president and confirmed by the Senate, in New York, do you have to have a law degree? So the students have a lot of questions. They have done some research, so they're excited about the tour tomorrow.
That's wonderful, because the judges are excited to meet them. They always are. And we remember fondly when we were at Kingsborough Community College a number of years in a row in the 90s, and we met with people of nationalities of over 150 countries. I understand from you it's the same. It hasn't changed. And people in the courts are from all different countries. But remember to ask all the questions. The judges are there in several forms, not just for you to witness the proceedings, but to answer your and your students' questions. And there's, as you said, the public courts. There's a criminal justice center, drug court, juvenile, domestic violence, all new courts that have come up under Chief Justice Kay preceding, the new Chief Justice, Jonathan Lippman, very much involved with that. We extend our hearty mazel tov to Chief Justice Lippman. Congratulations, and a most wonderful world of success ahead for him. And he's been a tremendous supporter of our organization, as has Chief Justice Kay. And it's in the honor of these judges that this dialogue proceeds, because as the administration is coming to Washington stands for, it is a dialogue is what is essential. And going along those lines, we just had Martin Luther King on the Martin Luther King Day. Does Kingsborough Community College have any proceedings in memory of that day? Are you coming to the courts because of the scheduling of Martin Luther King? Like last year we went to Seton Hall, or is it because of the inaugural, or is there any special significance to the timing of tomorrow?
No, there's no special significance of the timing of tomorrow. It's just that it fit best with our curriculum and our schedule. You know, I didn't want to go in the beginning of the semester where the students didn't have any foundation and it was just, you know, just a show. I wanted the students to have some foundation of understanding crime, understanding punishment, understanding what the role of a judge is. You know, what is the role of a judge? By having that foundation, they're able to critically analyze things that they see. They're able to formulate questions, and they're able to have a better understanding of the process. You know, I reject a lot of simple assignments because of the process. I think you know, your name is not. You know, you have to send an email with your subject line has to be correct, because if you want to be within the criminal justice system, it's a lot about process, and it's the small things. You know, it's the small things where cases can be dismissed because you don't follow the process. So the timing is great, but it was just by chance. It wasn't that I'm a great planner. It's just that this so happened that this was the best time to visit the court.
Nothing is by chance. Everything is made to be by tremendous fate. And the reason I ask the question is that since by and large you say it's by chance, then there's no reason for you not to come back and come back again to run the forums and not be bound by a particular holiday or a particular momentous event. Our chair people, Judge Thompson, William Thompson, and Judge Jerome Hornblass, and there's William Douglas, chairman of the Franklin Williams Commission of Minorities from the Courts. We all planned events that had no correlation to particular memorials, as well as using those days for springboards to particular dialogues. When Virginia Fields, as borough president of Manhattan, had her first honoring of Dr. King on that day, we organized 8 jurors to come to the Martin Luther King Junior High School to spearhead that dialogue. So I look forward to your next visit when it's at random. Now, what kind of person gets honored as Officer of the Year as yourself? What were they looking for Officer of the Year when you were a detective in narcotics? Was it the amount of arrests? Was it the honor in the arrest? Because the narcotics is the courts. Most crime that comes into the courts has some tie to narcotics. You must know that. So give us a little briefing on that history.
I think it was the total package, if I can pat myself on the back a little bit. It's not just making arrests, because I think any police officer can go out and they can arrest someone, but it's the manner in which the arrests are made. Are the arrests made legally? Are you not violating someone's Fourth Amendment rights or any of their constitutional rights? Because again, I always tell the students that it's law enforcement's job to protect individuals' constitutional rights, and we look at behaviors, not attitudes, and sometimes police officers have a hard time distinguishing between a behavior and an attitude. So it's the whole package. It's the number of arrests that were made, different operations, drug operations and drug raids, or number of arrests of drugs from individuals that I purchased. The packaging of the cases, presenting of the cases to the grand jury, and presenting the cases to the judges, or presenting the cases to a jury in a manner in which they can understand, where you can relate the information to a jury in a manner in which they can understand, and letting them know that it's not like watching CSI or not like watching one of the other many law enforcement shows where a case is solved in 20 minutes. Some of the jurors had a hard time understanding, if the person sold me drugs a year ago, why did it take a year or a year and a half to arrest the individual? So you had to explain that, if I was going to buy drugs from a large number of individuals, I couldn't arrest the person right afterwards, or else I wouldn't be able to buy from their friends or their family or other people that are engaging in the drug industry. So we explained that in every one of the cases where I testified, the defendants were found guilty. And at the time, there were no plea bargains, because we had mandatory sentencing, meaning that if you sold drugs within a school zone, at the time you went to jail automatically. I believe it was either 3 years or 4 years automatically. So special drug courts were established just specifically to hear these cases.
Are you going to focus on narcotics when you come to visit the courts, or are you looking for some other type of crime or crime in general?
We're looking at crime in general. It was interesting. One of the assignments that I gave the students was a hypothetical case. The case was a young lady that had a drug problem, so she was arrested for possessing a quantity of marijuana, but also she had stolen jewelry. So the question that I posed to the students: you're the judge. What do you think an appropriate punishment should be? And should it be an affirmative defense or a defense that the person was under the influence of drugs? Meaning that if the person's under the influence of drugs or under the influence of sugar, there was a famous case out in California where a defendant killed a politician, and his defense was Twinkies. That he was under the influence of Twinkies, so he really wasn't responsible for his actions. So I have the students look at the case and determine whether or not the individual that's under the influence of drugs, are they really responsible for their actions? And they had to come up with a sentence. Some of the students clearly said, the young lady had free will. She had a choice to determine whether or not, whether or not she wanted to engage in, one, using drugs, and two, stealing. Other students said, well, she was under the influence of drugs. She really didn't have the mental capacity of understanding that stealing was wrong. So their treatment, their punishment was treatment. And if we look at the criminal justice system or punishment, it kind of goes in a circle. Where in the beginning, we want to punish individuals. We want to get tough on crime. Then we want to treat them. And now we're back to punishment. Excuse me.
Yeah, there's allergies in this room. It's affecting me too. I think in January, first of all, it's freezing, and second of all, there are allergies here. So I'm of the mind of the Dickinsonian period. I read all his literature, where if a person owed money, he was thrown into jail, and you had debtor's prison, which was infamous. But Jewish point of view, which is a good portion of our legal philosophy, where you can't convict somebody unless you have two witnesses and saw the crime, is very different from the British. It's much more compassionate and directly involved with actual proof of guilt. They would rarely convict. And so we have reached a sort of medium, I think. But you ask that of the judges. That's what they're there for. And how long has Kingsborough offered this type of curriculum in justice?
Kingsborough just started this program September of 2008. Oh, my voice again. September 2008, they just started the program where, again, they have a partnership with John Jay College, whereas students who complete the criminal justice degree program at Kingsborough Community College can transition into the bachelor's program at John Jay.
How many courses at Kingsborough must be completed to receive a degree in criminal justice?
The students must complete 5 core criminal justice classes, which would be 15 credits. They also have to complete Englishes, and then they have another 35 credits, general credits, that they have to complete. So in order to receive the degree, they have to complete 60 credits in total.
And do they go off to become police officers in law enforcement, or they go off to become attorneys? What is the majority? Or do they? At what point also do they decide on what they're going to be?
Some of the students have determined already that they want to go into law enforcement. I had some students, the first week of class, they wanted to join the NYPD, And then I brought an individual in from the Department of Homeland Security from the federal government who works for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. And then those very same students say, I want to become a federal agent. So part of the education is to expose the students to different opportunities that are available within criminal justice. Some want to become forensic psychologists. Some want to become crime scene technicians. Some of the students the first day said they want to become dog handlers. Some of them want to become narcotics investigations. So we talk about, okay, what is necessary to achieve that goal?
When are the courses offered?
President Peruggi at Kingsborough, Dr. Peruggi, wanted to have not just the criminal justice courses, but all the courses within Kingsborough Community College available when students want to take the course. So courses are offered in the morning, courses are offered in the afternoons, courses are offered in the evenings. We have, at Kingsborough, we have weekend college. So individuals that are working, have other family obligations, can come to the college on Saturday and Sunday and take, criminal justice classes. I also teach online courses, so students that work full-time and absolutely can't come to class during the week or on the weekends, they can take courses online, meaning through the computer where they never come to campus. Or we have hybrid courses where you come to campus maybe once or twice a week, and the rest of the time you take the courses online.
Now that is a concept completely new to me. A hybrid course. You don't even come to the school. You don't even sit in the class. They don't get to meet the professor. They come once in a blue moon, and they do the whole thing online. That's not even the Kingsborough idea. What kind of... What, that guy's going to become a lawyer or a police officer? Or that lady? Who developed such a system?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because a lot of people say, online, but if you think about technology, there are courts where I talk about prisoners. Their pastime in jail is suing the government, filing appeals, not because they think they're going to win. They got soup. The soup was cold, or the pillows weren't fluffy enough, so they sue the government. They file a motion, not with the intentions of winning, but of going on a trip, getting out of their cell and going to the court to talk to someone different. But now a lot of judges, a lot of jurisdictions are having video arraignments where the prisoner never has to leave the jail. So through a teleconference. So you think about it, if we're using technology in the criminal justice field, we're using technology in every part of society, we should prepare students to use that medium. So online courses it's a new concept where students, I see them walking around all the time with these text messaging, so they're computer literate already. So it's up to us, and you say us, not that I'm that old, but I've been around a couple decades. It's up to us to keep pace with the students and to engage the students. So if online learning is convenient for them as a new means of technology, if it's convenient for them because they have a family, they have kids, they work full-time, but still they want to pursue their education, then come to Kingsborough, because we have a program and we have a time where you can take classes that are convenient for you.
I'll let that pass for now, because you're in distress. You're so lucky you're in distress, or I would have stayed on it. I don't want anybody to think that I'm deliberately keeping you in distress, because I'm suffering the same malady. We're not allowed to bring liquid into the studio. We cannot bring water in here or anything like that, and I'm the only one here, so I can't leave. So we're gonna proceed full speed ahead, but I'm gonna let that hybrid thing go right now. But I'm bringing it up tomorrow when I see you and the students. So what type of courses can an individual have for types of careers? In other words, what are the types of careers based on all the different courses they're going to take at Kingsborough that one can leave Kingsborough with?
With a criminal justice degree, the opportunities within the criminal justice field are endless. From private security to working with ATF, working as a bailiff in the court, working for either as an agent with the Secret Service or working as a uniformed officer within the Secret Service.
What about the FBI or Homeland Security?
FBI, Homeland Security, and each one of these organizations have different education requirements. While the FBI may require a 4-year degree, there are students that I've helped fill out applications for positions where they're qualified now without completing their degree with the Department of Homeland Security. I talk to students about the Postal Police. The Postal Police is a federal law enforcement organization where they have jurisdiction throughout this whole country. So a lot of students don't think about that. The Federal Protection Service, any building where the federal government is doing business comes under the auspice of the Federal Protective Services. So you have the Social Security Administration, you have welfare, courthouses. The Federal Protective Services provide security. You have the U.S. Marshals, you have police departments, you have counselors, you have attorneys, you have special agents, probation and parole. Hopefully we talk to the students and do you think